Hi everyone. Today we're going to be talking with business slash tech today. My name is Caden, and I'm a member of YouthWorks, and this is
My name is Hawari Zubair Folks. I'm also a member of the Youth Group. I look so fixed again.
um. Today I wanted to ask a few questions to you guys today. Um, I'm gonna start with Tom. Tell us about yourself and a little bit about your career.
Sure. Hi, my name is Tom Aris. I am a certified financial planner. I work with mostly individuals and couples working on everything from getting out of debt to figuring out how to afford a house, car, tackling student loans, and eventually investing and helping individuals with their retirements. Before I did this, I was a financial analyst for a couple of large companies. And before that, I started out my career as an accountant.
Okay. I'll go on to Matthew.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to y'all. So I'm the director of customer service and field services for a company called Atani. We're an Internet of Things company. So basically, what that means is, you can turn on and off your lights with your phone from anywhere in the world, right? We're one of the people that help make that possible. So we do lighting and HVAC control. What I specifically do is I'm the guy in charge of the team that runs the phone lines and all of our field techs and everyone who goes out to the site, as well as then I work really closely with developers and document team to kind of advocate for customers and help make things a little nicer for everyone involved. And then that's mostly how I spend my time. So.
Okay. What about you, Nicholas? Mr. Nicholas.
How you doing, guys? Yeah, how we doing? Thank you for having me. I do computer repair. We do information technology services for our local area. I've been in the field for about 10 years now. So basically what my department does is just break fix. We repair laptops and desktops. We build them, cosmetic damage, virus cleanups, kind of that standard rigmarole. We're here in the Bel Air area, so we service here and the larger subset of Harper County.
Okay.
Miss,
I can't really
see your name.
Irina.
Yeah, thank you. You can go, Miss Irina, for tell us about yourself and a little bit about your career.
Of course. Well, thank you for having me. I work as a software engineer for Johnson & Johnson. We have a small office in Hallithorpe where we work on a very specific device. It's an artificial lung device. So it's an extreme life support situation. Hopefully no one here will have to ever use it. But for those who might need to support their lung function in case of severe injury or lung transplantation issues, that's the device I work for is for. I've been working there for 2 years now. I have previous experience in robotics as well. So it's a very interesting job that involves a lot of problem solving, but also a lot of dealing with user needs and thinking about how people in hospital work and just thinking about what's best for our patients as well. Just because every line of code I write might kill a person, it kind of makes it interesting. So, yeah.
Okay.
How did you get started with this career? Let's start with Mr. Nicholas.
Yeah, so my father actually started this company in 2004. So I was just 11 years old at the time. So I was just a little kid running around his computer repair center in like the early 2000s, which has changed a lot over the years. After that, I started doing official tech work when I'm 21. I'm 31 now. I have gone to my community college and gotten my degree in computer information sciences. I am also A+ and Network Plus CompTIA certified. So I got started from my family.
That's pretty nice. Mr. Matthew.
Yeah, so I think one of the reasons I really wanted to talk to you guys today is when I saw the opportunity is because this spring from a summer job. Now a director of a whole department. I lead multiple teams of people, and it started as a summer job. I was in community college, and my neighbor at the time was just like, "Do you want to get a couple hours of work?" So I picked up like 10 hours a week, something really small, I just stuck with it. It kind of ended up growing with the company, and I thought that was really something neat. So it started as a summer job, and I was just good at it. I literally started with the most mundane. I was just a tester, which just meant that like I would go through a list of things and just make sure they worked. So it would be like, turn on the light, make sure the light works. And I would sit there and I'd flip a switch, and I'd be like, okay, the light worked. And that was my day. And it was boring and it was dull and it was terrible. And I made like minimum wage, but the job was there. It just kept being on the table, and I kept taking it and showing up. And, sooner or later you learn things. And from learning all that, you get this knowledge and you gain these skills and you can apply them. And you become more and more valuable to that company, and if you leverage that correctly, you get to grow with them. And that's what I did.
Okay. Mr. Tom?
Yeah, I'm sort of similar to Matthew. I was working as an accountant, so I was working a different job than what I do today. I worked as an accountant for 5-6 years, and while doing that, realized I didn't want to be an accountant because I was bored and it wasn't what I wanted to do in life. So I went back and did night school and got my MBA in finance and started working. Eventually took a job after I finished my degree in finance. And so I worked for a finance job for 6 or 7 years, all while realizing that ultimately what I wanted to do was personal finance. Which is what I do today as a CFP professional. So that's why I wanted to talk today to you guys, because you might not necessarily go to college for what you wind up doing. I'm in my mid to late 30s here, and I've already changed careers twice, working and getting certifications and education along the way. So you're never quite done learning. I'm never, who's to say I'll stay in this job forever? My past would say that I wouldn't, but just fell into this sort of thing. It's what I like to do, and I never really loved accounting, and I don't necessarily love corporate finance, but personal finance is something that I really truly enjoy doing every day, and so I'm making a career of it.
Last but not least, Miss Serena.
Yeah, so I wanted to be in kind of medical related engineering for pretty long time, maybe since high school. And it was kind of just seemed like a good way of having more purpose in my life, or like feeling more motivated to do work and combining engineering with it at the same time. And I didn't want to deal with patients myself. So I wanted to sit somewhere and do stuff and solve fun problems. And that's how I arrived into engineering. But I wanted to do mechanical engineering for a long time, and that's what my degree is actually in. It's just during my master's, I realized that I much prefer the work of a software developer on the team versus doing mechanical design of things. And luckily, with taking online courses and reorienting my thesis towards software development, I was able to kind of change my career path. So I also basically did not study for what I'm doing right now necessarily, but I was able to kind of shift my focus and get into the career I am in right now.
Okay.
Well, what was your dream job growing up?
Mr. Tom can start.
Professional soccer player, I guess, or like a kicker in the NFL. No, I always knew I wanted to do something with math. It was just always my best subject. I have an older sister who's a couple years older than me, who's smart, and it was the only subject that I could somewhat keep up with her in. So she could beat me at, board games. She could beat me at writing. She knew more about science and history and every subject. But since I was good at math, I could sort of keep up with her. And so I would say I always knew I wanted to do something with math, which accounting, finance, personal finance is definitely math and numbers related.
Let's start with Mr. Matthew. Let's start with.
No, I'm gonna be honest. I don't really know. I can't even recall. I think one of the ways of how I ended up here is I just I didn't really have a lot of ambition or goals, if that makes sense. But I found something I love through work, and I think that's one of the things that was kind of neat is nothing really in school fascinated me, nothing in college. I didn't go to college. I went to community college, and that's it. Went back for my actual degree about a year ago, just because work was like, we pay you too much to not have a degree, and so that's kind of how I ended up here. But I think that's one of the things that's really neat is you can find your passion. You don't have to know what you're doing. It'll become clear as you get older. Things.
Mr. Nicholas.
I'd share a lot of sentiment with what Matt you just said, but if one thing I was trying to focus on throughout high school is I always worked on my car, and I always wanted to be like a race car driver, and just with my family being in computers, I segued how much I liked working on that onto computers, which involves a lot of your hands and troubleshooting, a lot of problem solving, like Rena said. So I was very satisfied using kind of like that energy I had towards one subject to go into my current career now.
That's cool.
Okay. The next question.
Wait, you forgot about Mr.
Oh.
Did you already go?
I did not go yet, but I would love to answer that question because I think it's a very important question. We constantly ask young people, what do you want to be? What's your dream job? And I think, at least maybe I'm just speaking from my perspective, but I'm sure others will agree too, but that you probably still don't know what your dream job actually is. You're still probably, there are some aspects of your job that you might not be fully satisfied in, and you're still kind of just either coming to terms that that's how it is, or you're trying to find something new. Because usually, at least from my experience, until you actually do the job, you don't know what it's going to be like. You don't know if you'll actually like it day to day. Like, I don't know. Some people say like, my job sounds cool, and yeah, technically it's kind of cool, but also day to day there are boring things about it. So yeah, I never had a dream job per se, and I'm still trying to decide what I want to do with my career. And I think it's important to just stay open-minded and try things and see how you like them, if you find them meaningful at all to do and spend your life doing.
Okay. For Mr. Tom, what does an average day at work look for you?
So I work from home, if you couldn't tell. So my average day, I start off with my kids, getting them out the door to school. And then an average work day for me can consist of like 4-ish meetings a day. I'm building out my company still, so I'm taking prospect meetings with people who are not yet clients of mine. And then obviously I take meetings, 1 to 2 meetings a day with current clients. We always have a set of topics that we're going over. So in between meetings, I'm pulling up our notes from our last couple of calls, going over any last problems before the topic that we're about to go over in that meeting. It's a lot of like back end work. So for every 1 hour that I face, with a client on a call, I've got 2 hours worth of work, sometimes more, behind the scenes, either doing the work for them from our last call or setting things up for our next call. Compliance is a big part of my job. So I have to do a lot of documentation, and then depending on the client, I might be, working with their, I could be working with their lawyer. I could be working with their bank, different banks that they're working with, going into different accounts and changing things, making trades for them. So it's really, every day for me is a little bit different. I could have a day where I have 5, 6 meetings, 7 meetings even. And sometimes I have late meetings, 8, 9 o'clock at night if I need to. Other days I might only have 1 meeting with a client. And then the rest of the day is spent doing all that work that I described, behind the scenes.
Mr. Nicholas.
Yeah. So I have a small office, which is presently where I'm at, just a couple miles from my home. And my day-to-day pretty much is just bopping around here. I do everything between phone support, remote support, hands-on with customer intakes, outtakes, both the repair itself, ordering parts. I'm sort of a Swiss Army knife. It's just me and my partner that run our company. So, we're a small team, but we have a very large, or comfortable, I should say, subset of customers that we've been dealing with for years and years. So we do offer like managed service providing solutions. So like a lot of the phone calls I'll take will be for like the storms that we're having out here right now with power outages, and we have to deal with equipment failing. So I will also schedule my partner to go out there to fix it. So I kind of do all the coordination, the repairs and stuff like that. I'm here generally 8 hours a day, sometimes more. Like I stayed late last night for a late emergency drop off. I do consultations too. I discuss tech solutions with customers, as well as again troubleshooting and whatnot. Anything that you could think of falling under the tech umbrella, I have probably discussed here every day. So I work weekdays, Monday to Friday.
Okay. Mr. Max.
Yeah, so I guess a typical day for me generally starts with a conversation with China. So we work closely with partners in China and India, and they are 12 hours in the future. So when I usually start my day somewhere around like 7 or 8 in the morning, because it's 7 or 8 at night with our counterparts in China. And so that's usually the first part of my day, is kind of catch up with China. And usually my day also ends with catch up with China. So 9 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night, it's 9 in the morning for them. That could be a meeting. That could just be answering back some emails, something like that. But it's just like, I know I have this small window to talk to these people that are really important to my job, And so that's the first thing I have to do every morning, is kind of get on the phone with China. From there, the next thing I like to do is, or the next thing I pretty much typically do, is check in with all my job sites, right? So we are involved in construction throughout the entire world. I'm responsible for a lot of it going on in North America. So what am I doing? I'm checking in with my PMs. I'm checking in with contractors and construction workers. It's one of the really cool things about my job is I get to talk to a huge diverse group of people throughout the day. From people who are like architects who are planning out a building and want to put our lighting controls in there, all the way to, the union electrician who is actually installing the controls. All right. So I'm checking in with all my guys. That's the next thing I do. First thing I do is check in with China. Then I check in with my guys. After that, I'm kind of starting my day. Is a lot of it is either working on dock work. Sometimes we have a lot of our partners might come into the office, so I might be running a training on, running a training for a group of people who are trying to learn how to better use our product. I may be working on documents, a lot of busy work, and then I'm jumping on the occasional fire. Right, something goes down. We have equipment in a lot of really important buildings. We have equipment in the Massachusetts State House. We do the lights for the LG North American headquarters. If you guys like football, we do the lights for the Tennessee Titans. All right. So, Monday Night Football, if those lights don't come on, I get a phone call, and so that's how that works. So there's always fires too. But that's pretty much a typical day for me.
Okay, Miss Arena.
So same as most other people here, I work weekdays, 9 to 5. I go to the office most days because I have to test my code on the actual device and they don't allow me to bring it home, unfortunately. But some days, like today, I can work from home. Other than just coding, which I do in C language and JavaScript and some Python. I have to do a lot of documentation as any other highly regulated industry. Like it will be the same if you're working on software for cars or for aerospace, like planes. In medical, we do have to document our work very extensively. We have to test our work. So I have some part of my day associated with documentation and dealing with quality engineers. Then I often work with mechanical and electrical engineers in our team, troubleshooting new updates. So yeah, it's basically a day in office where most of the time I would be at my desk, but sometimes I'll be walking around the office, working in the lab. But it's not a physically exhaustive kind of work.
Okay. What's the most challenging part of your job? We can start with Mr. Nicholas.
Yeah, that's actually a good question. I think the most challenging part, but I actually like this part, is being able to take like technical data and being able to simplify that down to where a customer understands it. That I think I've developed a unique way of doing that resonates a lot with my repeat customers, where we're not complicating things to a sense. We're trying to make it technical information digestible, and that way there's no confusion for the customer. A confused customer is an unhappy customer, so we're trying to be transparent and make them understand really what we're doing, how we're doing it, and really what effectively is happening to their end device. Yeah.
Mr. Matthew.
Yeah, so I think probably the biggest challenge for myself, for my team, for a lot of us is just the international nature of our company. I mentioned we have team members in China, and then if we're going to go even more kind of in depth, we have team members that are in 2 different time zones in China, because China is a pretty big country also. And then we have team members here in America in 3 different time zones. So the international nature of it is definitely a challenge, right? Everyone kind of ends up working around the clock, just to facilitate it, just to make it happen. It's not like hard work, but it is like, if I get an email and I'm on the couch at 9 o'clock at night, I'm going to answer it, something like that, especially on emergencies. So it's definitely the biggest challenge. And then kind of with that, the language barrier. The language barrier has been a really neat thing, kind of interesting thing to navigate. And I'll give you a quick example. One of the first times I had met with one of our Chinese counterparts, it was the owner. He's, a very, very wealthy Chinese billionaire. And we were talking. And he told me that he was very concerned about my position and concerned about me in that position. And I took that as a huge negative. I got really offended. I was like, how you have no business telling to me, to be concerned about how I do my job. Well, it turns out concern is it was a bad translation, right? They use the word for concern is the same as just like a risk or just like something to be not really worried about, but like just on the radar, right? You understand how words can have millions of definitions. And so that's been one of probably the biggest challenge is choosing the word that you really mean, and not being afraid to kind of ask them for clarification. But just we are an international company that collectively speaks 5 different languages, and so that's definitely the biggest challenge. But it's a really cool challenge to have.
Mr. Tom.
I would say the most challenging parts of my job are when things happen that are out of my control. So on Monday, the stock market tanked like 1,000 points, or like it was, 1.3% of the stock market. And so you've got billions or trillions of equity that, disappear in the matter of a day. And so those are the days that I get more phone calls or emails specifically from clients and people wanting to talk about it. And as you can imagine, everybody on a day like that, on a day such as that, everyone wants to talk all at once. And there's only a couple hours, 8 hours that the market's open every day. So that's a difficult day for me. The other probably most difficult part about it is each client is sharing with you their pretty sensitive information. How much money they have, how much money they don't have, their debts, their liabilities. And so I do, I do a great job to try to turn it off at night, but it's difficult not to take work home with you, especially the fact that I work from home. And so there are nights where I'm worried about certain clients and I'm trying to just sit there on the couch with my wife and watch a TV show, and people's, concerns are in my own head, and they're not my financial concerns, but they're my clients' financial concerns, and I care about these people. So that's definitely a pretty difficult a part of the job.
Okay. Miss Arena?
I think it's managing risks. So as I said, the product I'm working on, it's like if it malfunctions, people can get hurt. Like your phone freezes sometimes. We don't want that to happen with our software at all. So, but it's very hard to do anything perfectly. It's extremely hard, especially because in the software, you build upon the work of so many people that came before you, like the libraries that someone developed in the 90s that you don't know who maintains that or what's happening with those. So, but we also have deadlines too that I have to deal with, and kind of knowing when this is enough. We actually tested our product really well. We've accounted for all the risks. We have risk mitigations, and we can actually launch it. That I think that's the hardest part of my job, kind of thinking about that, thinking in the back of my mind constantly. Have I missed something? Is there something else that we needed to do? So I hope that makes sense.
What is? Can you give us some advice for someone looking to go in? Start with Nicholas, Mr. Nicholas.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch the question.
Can you give us some advice for someone looking to go into this career field?
Yeah, get hands-on with tech in really any way that you can. There are so many different subsets of tech that you can play around with starting out, like coding, robotics, or even as simple as taking apart, your parent's computer at home if they'll allow you to do that. So it just really translates to things that you can play with your hands, and that's kind of goes back to where I was playing with like my car growing up, and where kind of that inspired me to segue into this career field. You can always, check out. I remember when I started with my community college, there were so many classes being offered at the time that kind of gave you a broader picture of how deep the field goes and what you can do there within it.
Mr. Matt.
Yeah, so the best advice I can give you is anyone really who wants to get into kind of networked devices or anything like that is find an apprenticeship. There are a lot of people who know a lot about everything you could want to know. There are a lot of people who know a lot of things, and they're willing to pay you. I guarantee it. They're willing to pay you money if you're willing to do just the silly jobs they need done, right? I want to pull this wire. I need this ditch dig. But the biggest advice would be find someone cool who does something that, you want to do, and just say, can I learn from you? Better yet, see if they're advertising, because like I said, they'll probably pay you. And if you can learn something new and get paid to do it, I think that's a win-win. I think it opens a lot of doors. It opened a lot of doors for me. I see it open a lot of doors for my peers. I think there's a lot of tradesmen. And even if you don't want to do that work forever, you don't want to be an electrician or something like that, you get a couple years under your belt as an electrician or as a low voltage wiring guy. And it's going to open so many doors that you can then usually transfer to a company who will pay for you to get your bachelor's degree, right? I got a bachelor's degree a couple of years ago. Never thought I would. The company paid for all of it, gave me time to do my homework because they were like, we just need you to have it. So it started with me just learning a skill. And that's all I can say. That's the biggest. There's a lot of apprenticeships. There's a lot of opportunities out there. And people will pay you. So always get paid.
Miss Serena?
I think, unfortunately, my career path is not too friendly with people without degrees, but this is in particular for software engineering, just getting more competitive these days. Like a couple of years ago, you could get in with a boot camp. Now it's getting harder and harder, in particular if you want to work on kind of low-level software stuff or even medium-level software versus just writing apps. Unfortunately, most companies will require you to have a bachelor's degree, but nobody said that you need to get it in 4 years. I have a lot of friends who did community college first over a few years and only then went for their bachelor's, and they're software engineers now. So as I said, my own path, like I don't even have a software engineering degree. I have a mechanical engineering degree, which is also pretty different. And I have to explain myself whenever I interview. But it's not like it's impossible. Okay. But yeah, just the main thing, though, is just be curious, try it out. There are a lot of opportunities to try software engineering out at home for zero costs. Try taking any beginner course online. See if you like making computers do things for you, because there are a lot of things you can just do for yourself. It doesn't have to be just purely computer, like on your laptop. There's a lot of fun stuff you can do that will actually make things move and deal with motors. Playing with Arduino is really fun, and they're very affordable Arduino kits out there. Some schools even provide them, and I know some there. I've definitely had some organizations before that told me that they even send them out for free in Baltimore. I don't know if that's still happening, but I found I still find playing with Arduino a lot of fun myself. So all those kind of things will help you to understand if you like this kind of work. if you have enough patience for debugging things, because that does require some patience finding faults in your code. But if you like it, I hope you go for it.
Mr. Tom?
I do not have the patience for debugging, so I will never be in there. But I also have this. My career has the same problem in that to become a CFP professional, you do have to have a college degree, as well as a couple of other hoops that you have to jump through. I don't agree with it, but I'm one person and I'm not going to be able to change the industry how it is set up. But what I can say is, to Matthew's point, I actually started my transition to becoming a CFP professional about 7 years ago when I was still working as a financial analyst. I helped out a friend figure out a debt problem that he had, and realized that I was pretty good at helping people out with their personal finances. So I just Googled, how do I get into the industry? And I came upon an article that was like, go find another CFP or go find a CFP and go, like, work for them. Go, do whatever you can to get your foot in the door. So I emailed 10 different CFPs in Baltimore. Only one of them got back to me that same day. And so I grabbed coffee with him, talked about what I could help him out with and what I could do for him. He had a million problems he needed solved. And so I went from working for him for like a couple hours at night to 4, 5, 10 hours a week to working nights and weekends, and until, where I am today with my own company doing the same thing that he was doing 7 years ago. And I will say the one way to getting to that point, I was fortunate enough that I did go to college. I got my degree in accounting. And while I am not an accountant anymore, I use a lot of those same skills every single day. And I've learned a lot from my previous jobs. And the one nice thing about accounting that I really, really do like, and it's fantastic, is that you can get an accounting degree from anywhere. You don't have to go to Yale or Harvard. You could go to BCC or any other school in between. And if you get your accounting classes in, you get to go, work. You get to go study for that CPA exam. And if you have your CPA in accounting, it doesn't really matter where you went to college. It might matter a little bit to some companies, but once you have those 3 little letters behind your name, CPA, most companies don't care what your college or community college path was. And in fact, if I see a resume come across my desk and it's from a kid who went to community college and fought his way all the way up to getting his CPA, and it wasn't just his parents paying for him to go to a fancy private college, all paid for, and he was basically pushed into it, I think it's really impressive. So I am not an accountant, but one of my favorite degrees out there is for people to get an accounting degree, because it's just so useful in so many industries. And once you get that CPA, nothing before it really matters. Your high school and your college GPAs don't really matter anymore once you have those little letters behind your name. And from there, you could do anything. And to Matthew's point, companies will pay you. So like, I got my MBA and my company was paying me to get my MBA. Like, companies will give you time off to study the CPA just the way they will help you pay for your MBA or your undergrad degree. And there's tax savings in that for companies, and that's why they do it.
Okay. What's that? Can we get a few words of wisdom? Anything.
Let's start with Mr. Nicholas.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say just don't give up. You're going to come into challenges, and learning new things is always tough. It was tough for me, even when I was super young. But it was the constant practice that kind of kept me going along and kind of got me to where I am now. Like, I sit very comfortably here, the fact that I have work and I'm able to, live the lifestyle that I want to and afford everything that I can is only because I kept trying. And I am no stranger to constantly dealing with like new issues that kind of come up throughout tech world. So again, if you just stay with it, and if you like the ability to do unique problem solving over time, this might be the thing for you.
Okay. Miss Serena.
I totally agree with Nicholas about just keeping going, keep trying at it. I mean, intelligence is one thing, but in the end, hard work and actually getting stuff done, being consistent at it, is probably more important. Because I mean, that's how you accomplish things, by showing up, trying it out, and failing and trying again. And things happen. Life is unpredictable, and some of us are more lucky than others. But if you keep at it, more things will happen for you if you don't even try.
Okay. Mr. Tom.
I would say, a term that younger generations use is like side hustle. And side hustles are fantastic. Lots of people have side hustles, but side hustles don't necessarily mean that both jobs bring in money. It doesn't have to be a job as a side hustle. So over my past 15 years, I felt like I had a side hustle when I was working during the day and then getting my master's degree at night, or I was working during the day getting my Series 65 or my CFP exam at night. So don't forget that side hustle doesn't necessarily mean you have two jobs or two income streams. That can be fantastic, but just as good as an income stream can just be you working on accreditations, you going back to school, or you just taking certain classes that will help you out in the future.
Okay. Thank you for joining.
Did Mr. Matthew go?
Oh, no. Oh, sorry about that. Mr. Matthew.
Thanks, guys. I mean, I would just reiterate all the strong points that were previously said, and I would say opportunities don't come a lot when you have one. You need to pursue it, and sometimes it's hard to know what are the good opportunities to pursue and which ones aren't. And I think one of the things that really helped me in my career was finding a mentor. So I early on, I found someone that I could talk to, that I could call and ask questions to. And I strongly advise that for anybody. Just find someone who you want to be like, and just ask them if you can, ask them questions. Like, chances are, especially if they're more established in their career, they're going to be honored, and they're going to, at least at the very minimum, probably buy you a free lunch once a month. So just see if you can find someone who wants to buy you lunch and let you ask them questions, because they're definitely out there. And then the other piece, the secret sauce to it all, is after you get that opportunity, you got to make yourself valuable. That's the biggest thing I can stress. Just make yourself valuable, and you can do it, right? Everyone can identify what the situation is missing, and make yourself crucial to that, and part of that solution. And that's all. So thank you guys again for letting me, spend some time with y'all and talk about what I do.
Yeah, this will be our last stream in 2024. This is our last day working. And thank you for joining this live. And
have a great rest of your summer.
Have a great summer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.